Have you ever seen Talladega Nights?
Yes.
Where do I put my hands when he's being interviewed?
Oh,
And
I can just imagine.
well,
Yeah.
where do I put my hands? He's just doing this the whole interview. Like, it's hilarious. Okay. Um, Mike, glad to have you here. Obviously, wish we could have Janine here at the same time, but this is terrific. And did we sell your home twice?
Yes, you did.
Is that possible?
Apparently it is.
Okay.
Double whammy.
Okay. Well, before we get into selling your beautiful home acreage twice, can you tell me what initially led you to coming up with the idea of selling, or what brought you to decide to sell for you and Janine?
Well, we didn't really want to sell, but we knew our mortgage was coming up for renewal, and we knew that interest rates were rising,
Okay.
and we knew that it was already a bit of a stretch. We had taken this project on a few years ago and
Right.
knew it was going to be hard.
Okay.
And so we just had to deal with that, and it was time to sell
Like a lot
before
of
we got into
Canadians.
trouble. Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Okay, and how did you, before we met, did you interview other realtors, or how did you decide on a realtor, and how did we meet? I'm trying to remember now.
Well, it's with many things. My wife did,
Okay.
and her name is Janine, and
Right.
you knew that, but maybe the viewers don't. But anyway, she decided that we should be paying less commission than many of the other realtors ask.
Okay.
And she thought that O'Keefe 3% would be a good choice. So I said, all right, well, let's interview this guy. So we had you come over to the house, Rod, and we liked you, and rest is history.
Okay, and you've had experience with other realtors and their services. Did you find when I presented all the marketing benefits and services we provided that we were lacking in any area?
Well, no, I would say perhaps the other realtors we've had might have been lacking in certain areas, in that, of course, it was some time ago, but we felt that you had a lot of um, different areas that you were advertising in, and that was something that
Perfect.
previously concerned us, that there
Okay.
wasn't enough
Marketing.
marketing going on, and so we really felt good about the marketing approach that you outlined for us.
Okay.
I was going to say, I was looking for a word, but the word that comes to mind is tentacles
Yeah.
into different areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's one way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm going to ask a bit of a leading question here. I hear sometimes when I'm talking to people that are thinking about having or hiring a realtor or a real estate team or a 3% or keep 3%, they'll say something to me like, my best friend or my neighbor just got their license and I'm going to give them a try first. What are your thoughts around real estate marketing experience or just general experience, especially with the sale of your home?
Well, we have previously tried for sale by owner in our past home selling life. And we had no success at all.
Okay.
And also, from particularly this experience, selling a house is not a simple matter.
Okay.
And there's lots of twists and turns. And I think it's really nice to have somebody with experience and confidence and skills at the helm.
Okay.
And I also discovered in this time that other realtors like to work with experienced realtors.
Right.
So I think altogether I am very pleased that we got an experienced realtor.
Okay. That's terrific. And so through that experience, we did sell your house. The first
Twice.
time, twice, yeah, and then first time, we're just gonna take us back to that first time before Christmas. The buyer removed all subjects, the sold sign was up,
Was
and
down.
yeah, and the buyer suddenly notified us they couldn't come up through their realtor, they couldn't come up with the money. Do you mind just sharing sort of the background of what you heard through what happened, or what your thoughts were?
Yeah, so it was a wild experience we never expected. We completely moved out
Mhm.
on the closing date, and the lawyers assured us, well, you know, sometimes the funds show up the day after because the banks and the lawyers can't get it all done the same day, et cetera, et cetera. And so we had moved out. All our stuff was in the big steel box.
Right.
My wife and daughter had already gone to our rental place, which is an hour's drive away.
Wow.
And then the next day arrives, we were expecting a call from the lawyer that the funds were in our account. And lo and behold, we got a call that the deal had collapsed
Correct.
because the buyers of the buyers walked away.
Yes, down
They
around
were,
Vancouver.
yeah, they were somewhat eccentric, I guess. And so our buyers didn't have the funds.
Yeah.
And so we were hooped. The
Yes.
whole deal collapsed.
Yes. Yes. That was horrible. I've never experienced it in our career with over, I guess, 16, 17 years of doing 80 to 90 transactions personally, and then our team doing another 150 to 200. We've never ever had what happened to you, and it happened to you right before Christmas.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, well, let's go still on that train of thought. How important, maybe you could share how important the deposit was in that whole process with that first buyer that collapsed.
Yeah, well, it turns out to be critical because there are some specific things about our home that made it a bit of a challenge to sell. No discredit to the realtor, Rod, but there were some challenges with the sale, and so we had been trying to sell for quite a while. And the mortgage had come up for renewal in the meantime, and our payments had doubled.
Wow.
And now, not only did we have a hard time making our regular mortgage payments, but we also had to pay rent.
Right.
And so we simply couldn't make the payments. And so we were behind considerably, and I had to keep communicating with the mortgage company, and they were gracious to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But, and of course, there was some delays because we had to talk to the lawyers about what action to take, and that wasn't a simple matter because lawyers aren't always quickly responsive. And so it took some time, but finally the decision was made not to sue, but to harvest the deposit.
Okay.
And that allowed us to then get our mortgage back into good standing so that we had some time to resell the home.
Right. So you were able to take the deposit in the first sale, and they conceded it. The buyer conceded
Yes, they
it to you.
graciously did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you were able to use that, as you say, to help make rent payments and mortgage payments because you still owned a home. Even though
Yes.
you sold it. Okay.
Yeah.
So changing gears, and I'm gonna circle us back a little bit to private seller experience because you are a little bit in shock. Of course, it's right around Christmas. Your home didn't sell. All this is going on. Do you mind sharing with me just a little bit about you had an experience with a private buyer suddenly coming to you and talking to you about purchasing your home
Yeah.
without a realtor?
Yes. So they had their eye on our property apparently for a while. There were various reasons why they were quite interested. Um, and but they really did not want to deal with commissions and realtors. It was a little bit of, I think it was a bit of a game to them
Okay.
that they liked to get the best deal possible.
Okay.
So they didn't want commission, so they asked us for an exclusion,
Right.
which means that there will be something in the contract with our realtor that would allow them specifically to engage in a private sale with us without having to pay a commission to the realtor. And of course, we were somewhat desperate at that point.
Yeah.
And so we approached you, Rod, to look into that. And you graciously said, absolutely, we're willing to do that because we understand that this is a difficult situation. And so you said that that would be fine. So you did. We added that to the contract and we told the private buyers, and they unfortunately gave us a very low ball offer, which we declined.
Right.
We did come back with we moved towards their price because again, we
Sorry
were
to
somewhat
interrupt you,
desperate.
but when you say a lowball offer, was it written?
It was not. It was a verbal offer.
Verbal. Okay. Okay.
So
in our world,
yeah.
we don't call that a real offer, but that's a verbal offer. But
Yeah.
anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so I know these people did have money
Right.
and they probably would have
Yeah.
purchased it, but it was simply too low.
Right.
So we came back with the counter offer and they said they would think about it, but they never got back to us.
Okay. Okay.
And that was the last
You ever heard
that
from
we
them?
heard from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fair, and that's a very common private buyer experience. I think I even said to you when we talked, there's some red flags here.
Yeah,
Um,
you said it.
written contracts, lowball offers. Unfortunately, they sometimes they want to take advantage.
Yeah.
They feel that people are maybe in trouble, and they're like maybe sharks circling chum. You know.
It appears that way.
Yeah. And so, anyways, not all private buyers are that way, but it's a big, it is a situation like I deal with a lot of people that are tell me, oh, I'm selling privately, or I'm thinking about selling privately, or I'm already listed using an MLS and selling privately, and I have way more buyers. And one of the things I always ask is, did you ask the big question? And they always kind of look at me kind of confused. And they say, well, what's the big question? And I say, has your buyer that you've been showing or that you're thinking of showing the home, have they been pre-approved from a lender or a mortgage broker, and have they sent you that communication? Because that's called an unqualified buyer. And so you have to weed those out, because there's lots of buyers that will look at lots of homes, but they have no money or they haven't been pre-approved.
That's right.
So it's something that we've, as realtors or as the O'Keefe 3% office, we take that very seriously. We don't want to waste sellers' time bringing out buyers that haven't been pre-approved. So anyways.
And yet, you allowed us to go through that personal experience.
Yeah.
So that's very gracious.
Yeah. Okay. So let's circle back. You talked about, and we kind of alluded to it, and I hope you don't mind talking about it. Your home was a tough sale. What specifically was making it tough?
Well, the property is gorgeous. But
Amazing views.
yes, and everybody that came to see it loved it. Loved it. I think we would have been able to sell it 20 times, but for this problem. So the challenge is that we live in an area where there isn't much water.
Correct.
It's an acreage, it's out in the country, and there is no city water supply, so one has to drill a well. And we had a well that produced barely adequate water.
Okay.
But within 15 minutes of turning on the pump, the well collapsed. And so we had to try and find alternate sources, and we drilled another one that came up dry, and we excavated some groundwater wells, and they were unpredictable. Okay. So we had to truck in water for 6 months of the year is the sort of end result.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is not inexpensive.
No.
So there's that balance between beautiful property, dead-end road, quiet, peaceful neighborhood, versus the expense of hauling in water. And that was scary for many buyers.
That's correct, yeah. It's very, like you say, in that area of Lake Country, it's very common. My wife and I owned a home there, and we saw lots of people hauling water. So it seemed normal for
Yeah.
us and for people like you. But
Yeah.
yeah, if it was someone coming from outside of the area and, we're asking in the millions or over a million, it's a lot of money, and
Yeah.
and then they became very concerned about
Mhm.
the fact that you were hauling water, we're facing a drought, some of those challenges.
Exactly.
So that made a big challenge. How did you feel our team? I know there was disclosure around that, and a lot of communication. Was that adequate? How did you feel we dealt with it? How important is it that I had a team to help deal with it?
Yeah, so there were communications in writing that we presented to you, and you consistently passed those on to the realtors in question once they started to show some interest. And then on top of that, you ensured that there was plenty of opportunity to offer personal communication from myself as an option for potential buyers. So the communication there was very good, and you did everything you could.
Yeah. Well, and you made it really helpful too, because yeah, you were able to meet some of the more serious buyers and then of course walk them through the property.
Yeah.
Explain it firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's terrific. We've talked about the water. We've talked about selling your home the first time. Okay, now we've sold your home, or we're gonna sell your home a second time. Um, were you gonna pay commissions times two? And how did that work?
Well, when we first found out that we had to pay commission on a sale that never happened, it was an awkward time.
Right.
But through professional communication, that issue was resolved to our satisfaction. You explained that yes, we owed commission on the first sale. However, that you would be happy to work with us on that, that if you sold a second time, that we'd only have to pay the commission once. The other realtor technically was due, he felt he was due the commission, but after some communication on that end, that was resolved to our satisfaction in the end.
Okay.
And so it was a tricky time, but we worked through it,
Yeah.
and everybody's okay now.
So yeah, we charged you, the O'Keefe team, we charged you 3% on your second sale only.
Yes, and not only that, but due to the economy and the interest rates and the pressure we were under, the second sale was a little lower
Correct.
in price, and graciously you charged us the lower price commission.
Yeah.
So
Based on
thank
the
you
second sale.
very much, because that made a huge difference for us. So
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And that's what we just wanted a good experience for you and to sell your home. It was interesting to sell it twice, but
yeah.
we're just happy you are where you are now, and
Mhm.
everything's done and the actual money was deposited.
Yeah, yes, that was a great relief.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna wrap things up. What would you and Janine say about the O'Keefe team, O'Keefe 3%, and our support team, myself and the rest of the team, Sue and Brandy and everybody else? What are your thoughts on
Well, what was nice, it is kind of a family business, it seems, and it's lovely to see all of you guys kind of working together and closely communicating. And what I really felt as a seller is that everybody here was really rooting for us, and that you guys really cared what happened with us. So it was a great experience. Thank you.
Well, we did, and it was, yeah, it was hard for all of us, and
Mm-hmm.
the emotional. I mean, as a seller, it's a very emotional experience. It's times two when you sell it twice at Christmas. I mean, very trying times, but you know, you guys prevailed, so we're grateful. If you were to do it again, was there anything you'd do different?
Yes, I would only sell once.
Okay.
That would be what I would do
Yeah.
different.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I,
So you didn't get twice the sales
uh,
or the income from the sale.
yeah, and I would definitely, if I was buying a place, I would definitely look at the water situation closely.
Yeah.
But we are happy with everything we did. I'm glad we had the experience we did in our property because it was an amazing place, and it was really just the economy that was difficult.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Right. Right. No, that's fair. And one of our taglines is, and it's kind of a question mark, but I'm going to ask it to you, and it'll be my final one, is selling a home is easy, right?
Not. No. So yeah, it was good to have some experience on board, and I would say some perseverance on your part as well was helpful on your whole team's part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.